Might as well go for a soul and nobody drowns and nobody dies.
Even, who else would even think of giving away a fathead on their show?
We're going to have Chris Jericho give away a fathead and a copy of his book at the same time.
That is a prize. That's at least like $100 and something prize right there. I mean, you got a lot of people, they'll give away, a bumper sticker, like, a T-shirt or something corny like that.
We're original here at the Ham.
Hi, I'm Chris Jericho. And you've been asked many times, what's the greatest book of all time? Is it War and Peace? Is it To Kill a Mockingbird? Is it Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire? All of them good books. But the greatest book of all time has now been released. A Lion's Tale Around the World in Spandex by Chris Jericho. This book will make you laugh. This book will make you cry. This book will make you jump up and down and say, might as well go for a soda. Nobody drowns and nobody dies. Come on, everybody.
Well, of course, Mayhem fans, you are hearing Monday Night Mayhem, your home of wrestling radio, and giving us some of his free time right now this evening. The man himself, Chris Jericho, aboard the airwaves of Monday Night Mayhem once again. Chris, we appreciate your return appearance back on the program, and thankfully we're not in Luxembourg, we're in Buffalo, New York. What's going on?
Hi. My goodness, that was the most long-winded introduction I've ever heard in my life. I think I fell asleep for a couple seconds during that introduction. You got to punch it up. Where's the fire? Where's the charisma? Where's the personality?
Well, you know what, Blade? I think that's where actually you come into the fray.
Oh yeah, I bring all of that. Let me tell you.
But Blade, you actually wanted to ask Chris a very important question.
Yes, we're gonna start things off right. No beating around the bush here. Chris, what do the fans have a better chance of seeing this year? Your return to the WWE at Cyber Sunday or Survivor Series, or the long-awaited release of Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy?
You actually have a better chance of seeing the Led Zeppelin reunion, including John Bonham. I think it's probably the best way to do it. You guys probably know more than I do with all your secret spies inside of the inner circle of all the major wrestling companies.
Well,
that and the good Dave Meltzer, please save us, 222.
Well, I think that Dave Meltzer's got to stop hanging around in those inner meetings of TNA within World Wrestling Entertainment.
So the book basically focuses on my time in the wrestling business from 1990 to 1999, where I had this goal, I had this dream, and these were the steps that I took to achieve that.
You cover this in your book, but how has the wrestling business changed from when you started to how things are at right now on the verge of 2008?
I mean, like I said, I think the fact that I started wrestling was all about the Hulk Hogan types, the 6'8", 300-pounders, and I wasn't even close to that in any way, shape, or sense or form. But to me, it didn't make any difference. This was my dream. This is what I wanted to do, and I had nothing but pure confidence and courage to know that I could do that. And I basically, wrote letters. What an archaic thing! Licking the stamp, licking the envelopes, writing the name and the address on there, and finding promoters' addresses in New Zealand or Australia or anywhere I could think of, any address I could find, and send out a crappy tape of 3 or 4 high spots and a resume of nothing and a photocopied colored picture of myself. And that's kind of how I worked my way up the ladder. A friend of mine was working in Mexico. He needed a tag team partner. Then I got the gig in Mexico. And then the top promoter in Mexico, Paco Alonso, saw me working in the small-time Monterrey promotion, and he brought me into Mexico City, and that's where I met Ultimo Dragon, who brought me into Japan, and that's where I met Solomon Grundy, who got me into Germany. And it was real old school networking, and also the fact that the wrestling in the States was the land of the giants. I was fortunate enough to work in a lot of these countries where the size wasn't an issue. It was more of being a pure athlete and kind of working more on characters. Like in Germany, it was all about character. In Japan, there's a lot of character work, character involvement. In Mexico, it was the land of the superheroes. So it was a chance to work on my craft and not just that, get experience in wrestling, but get life experiences as well. And that's the thing about my book, is that it's not so much a wrestling book. I knew wrestling fans would dig it. I knew Jericho fans would dig it. But I wanted to write it from the perspective of people who maybe weren't wrestling fans. This is more of a follow your dreams, coming of age, stranger in a strange land story with wrestling as a background. Which I think is something that everybody can sympathize and empathize with. This is not a wrestling book per se. It's the story of how I achieved my goal of what just so happened to be wrestling. So it's got elements of all these things. It's really, as Jim Ross said in the quote that he put in the back of the book, it's action, adventure, follow your dreams, how to do type book rather than just a wrestling book where I talk about it. And then I locked up with Hulk Hogan and gave him an arm drag, and oh my goodness, was that ever cool. Like I said, I think Brett's book and my book are going to be the last two of a certain kind of guys who have worldwide experience wrestling in the small territories, wrestling overseas, and finally making it to the top level in the United States, which nowadays guys who start out, they basically sign a developmental deal, and within 6 months to a year, they're on the big show, and then they're basically learning while they're working in the WWE. Well, for me, it was the exact opposite of that. By the time I got to the WWE in 1999, I was more than ready and had, honed my skills and honed my craft in so many different ways. And I think that's kind of something that you're not going to see too much of anymore.
Once again, we are joined by Chris Jericho, wrestler, actor, musician, author extraordinaire, making his return to Monday Night Mayhem. The book, once again, A Lion's Tale, Around the World in Spandex. You can check out chrisjericho.com, amazon.com for more details. Let us make this the proverbial holiday book of the Christmas season. And Blade, I believe you're also Jewish as well, so for Hanukkah, which
Thanks for pointing that out again.
It's a perfect gift for Hanukkah as well.
It is. Any one of the 8 nights.
Because I was involved in every aspect of it, from writing the actual book to writing the copy that's in the inside of the flap jacket, the dust jacket, to choosing the photos, to writing the captions for those photos, to getting the quotes from the people and putting those in the back, and just everything that needed to be done. Sweeping up the floor in the publishing house after work is done, cleaning the toilets, whatever needed to be done, I would do it. And it's one of those things. Like, if you're going to write a story about your life, I wasn't going to even begin to ever give somebody else the reins to do that. I had to do it myself, and that was the end, be all end all of it. So it's very close to me, and I'm very proud of it. It's exactly the way I wanted it, for better or for worse.
We had the opportunity to promote your ventures outside of wrestling. You're a natural for the theater. I know that we saw all the fans that were waiting backstage outside of the theater, and I think since it's a year later.
It was what I thought. It was half, nicely dressed, half wrestling shirts. The crowd, I mean.
That's true.
That's what I thought it would be.
And instead of being behind Madison Square Garden or the HSBC.
Right, they were marking out behind the theater.
They were marking out behind the theater.
Well, I mean, that's one thing that I always said, that I wouldn't go back to wrestling unless it was on my own terms, and unless I thought I could come back and make a difference and have some fun. And I had a lot of things I wanted to work on in my time away from wrestling, which is one of the reasons why I took some time off. So, I mean, we toured the world with Fozzy. We played the UK, Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, 5 separate times. Got to do the play in Toronto, which was great. Still did the radio show, did the movie Android Apocalypse, did another movie called Albino Farm. I did the duet show. So, I mean, I had all these great opportunities to do all this fun stuff of things that I thought would be really cool to do, and to kind of do it on my own terms. And, and that's the thing, like I said, if I'm going to go back to wrestling, it's going to be on my terms, but I would not want to give up all the stuff that I've been working on over the last couple of years either, because there's a lot, that's how it works. It takes a while to build up a little bit of a following, not just fan base wise, but people behind the scenes too. And it's the same thing when I first started going into wrestling. I knew that I could do it. I just knew that it would take some time, and that was fine. And it's the same thing with a lot of these other projects I've been working on. So, I think for me to go back to wrestling, it would be a big step. I think after I wrote the book, especially, that I could go back. I would love to go back and have some fun and do my thing, because, for better or for worse, 15 years of experience, you can't teach experience. And you can't teach the style of wrestling that I do, and you can't teach the style of promos that I do. It's just something that I know how to do almost by instinct at this time. So,
one of them would like to know, hypothetically speaking, if you did come back to the E, are there any new talents that have come in within the last 2 years, such as the CM Punk or the Boogeyman, that you would be interested in working with that you have not yet worked with?
I'd love to work with Boogeyman. I think it's great because he has a gimmick that people know. He's not a nameless, faceless guy, and is he the best worker? No, of course not. But was Hulk Hogan the best worker? Absolutely not. So it's one of those things where it's fun for internet smart people to laugh at the Boogeyman, but I think he's one of the best characters I've seen in years. I have the best fans in the world. So thank you to all the Jerichoholics, and I know no matter what I do that they'll always follow me and support me in any decisions that I make. So just stay tuned. There's always lots of maximum raucosity going on with Chris Jericho, and there's a lot of things in the works and a lot of things that have happened, a lot of things that are going to happen. So always stay prepared and expect the unexpected. But that's it. I got to split, man. I got to go.
Chris, we appreciate your free time. Thanks for joining us this week. Best of luck in the future, my friend. Thank you.
All right, fellas. Thanks a lot, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.